Good morning. That was a fascinating speech, and it kind of would have inspired me to stand here for an hour to talk about all the failures that I have had during my career as a CTO and a technology person. I will not do that. Maybe tonight, if you have a little bit of time and maybe an environment with a beer or two, I think it would be fantastic if we could exchange our, what I would call, successful failures, which have actually moved us forward. So thank you for that inspiration. Now going back to the technology session, we have seen how M7, our platform, has been accelerated in terms of functionality, but also in terms of adoption. The cloud has become mainstream for any M7 deployment. Our new customers, our existing customers, add more and more and more data across all of the GRC domains to the platform. They add more use cases to the platform. What does that mean? They use the platform to innovate themselves for integrated GRC and their integrated risk management activities. What they are doing is linking business strategy, risk appetite, and performance. What they are doing is using analytics to optimize audit processes. They leverage employee feedback to determine future risks. In terms of acceleration and product development, I think I have a nice example. During last year, we started discussions with multiple customers talking about the amount of information that each and every employee in a company has, the amount of observations they can make. And we realized that harvesting that information, triaging it, analyzing it, can give us foresight into risks which are just coming up, which are just dawning. We don't have a taxonomy yet. We don't know if those are issues or incidents, or if we need to add that to the risk register. But we start harvesting that information so people can raise their hand when they have an observation, and we can aggregate all of those things. It needs a lot of support on the back end in terms of how to triage it, because it's just unstructured data coming in. But within less than a year, we developed a product which will allow companies to do that. And that's quite an accelerated cycle compared to what I have been used to over the years in terms of moving to an enterprise class product. So thank each and every one of you who are here to inspire us to continue with that level of accelerated innovation. Thank you so much. Now, in terms of this session, what we would like to do is show you a few examples of where we are innovating as we speak. And what you will see is, most importantly, it's less about technology for itself than about the use case married with technology, showing new possibilities for us, for our customers, for you. And for that, I would like to welcome to the stage our Chief Cloud Officer and Chief Innovation Officer, Vidyadhar Phalke. Please come up.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning. It's so great to be here. Yesterday we talked about requirements around GRC. Today we're going to talk about technology, and tomorrow when you go back to your offices, log into MetricStream M7 in cloud, all these features will be there. Just kidding. I know I'm not as funny as Andrew here, but that was a joke. But what I do want to do is I want to spend some time just getting into a little bit more details of what goes inside MetricStream in order for us to co-innovate with our customers, our partners, and really bring out these ideas. We talked about AI for GRC. Those are big words, but I'm going to go into some of the specifics over the last 1 year that we have been doing to move this conversation forward. So about a year ago, we established something called GRC Labs, with the primary purpose and focus around listening to our customers, listening to our partners, and trying to bring about cases on GRC to the next generation. We heard some of the cases around, sampling-based audit not being sufficient. Some of the cases around raise your hand. How do you start imagining those things in GRC? So what we did is, I'll go a little bit, couple of frameworks in terms of MetricStream thinking. These are the kind of primitives all of you have seen. I'll talk a little bit about them. And then how do we go about thinking as a first mile, last mile situation of GRC? And as Andy mentioned, go into specific examples. So natural language processing and understanding, all of you know it's like textual things, voice, digitization of information is being captured all around us. And most importantly, what's happening is we have technologies which can aggregate sentiment out of that information, look at tonality, start prioritizing things which have stronger words than the other ones, and so on and so forth. So how do you think about using natural language processing and natural language understanding into GRC applications? Topics around chatbots, all of you have dealt with websites, travel sites, and so on and so forth. You talk to a bot, you very quickly get to where you need to, but think about that use case in context of GRC, where you don't want first line to worry about risk taxonomy and residual risk and very heavy words. You just want to hear from them quickly enough and put it into the system. Robotics process automation, another pivot, where as you think about doing audits, it's no more about doing samples, picking few things here and there and trying to look at deficiencies, but really want to run things at scale. You want to not sample, you have to look at all the transaction in a system. How do you do that? And robotics process automation is one way of doing it. So these are the kind of, and risk quantification and so on and so forth. Without going into those details, these are the kind of things that we wanted to look at, but we don't want to just cook it up and in a lab outside of customers and bring it to the market. We wanted to co-innovate with our customers. So what we did is we thought about it, and we kind of framed it as a first mile and a last mile situation. And I'll get into the specifics of what that means. So from the first mile perspective, think about a GRC system. It's a platform, not necessarily MetricStream, but a way of thinking about GRC for an entire enterprise, your ecosystem, and partners, and so on and so forth. In that ecosystem, you need to first worry about how you're getting events, notifications, observations into the system so that you have a rich, curated database on which you can really think about GRC at scale. So getting observations, capturing those, using chatbots, that's where we started to put our thinking around in MetricStream. And now imagine this GRC system is fully up and running. What you want to look at is, at the end of it, you want insights to be pulled out of it. You want ways to think about foresights, things which can give you those aha moments, because now you have really put a comprehensive GRC program together. So that's where we start bringing in technologies such as natural language processing to really connect data in the entire GRC ecosystem, and you can pull out intuitions and foresights from there. And middle of this sits your classic risk, compliance, audit, the whole large data sets, the entire audit programs, your operational risk, issue tracking, and so on and so forth. And that one we augmented using robotics process automation so that you can automate, quantify, and really make it a much more comprehensive program than, say, the sampling-based methodologies. So that's the kind of framework. You saw the 6 pillars, how we think about a first and last mile. By the way, I should have been saying first kilometer and last kilometer because I'm in UK, but do pardon that mile usage. So now I'll get into very specifics around the cases that we are working and rolling out. So first is the first line case, which is say something, see something, say something kind of capability. I'm proud to announce, as of last Friday, we released the observation module in MetricStream as part of M7. Thank you. what that application does is essentially sets the stage for the first line to engage with the GRC platform. You can bring in any observation, and at the behind the scenes, there's a way to triage all that information, push it up into a big issue, and something that need not be looked by GRC professional, triage it, and so on and so forth. But as a strategy, think about it, this is going to be powered by natural language processing and AI, because at the end of the day, you're going to get tons of information, and what you really need to do is, if there are items coming out of 5 different places around something similar, which could be a security incident, you want it to be bubbled up. If it's something not trivial, then it needs to be discarded, and that needs to happen at a pretty fast clip and not by human processes. So as a strategy, the thinking is to use AI and ML in the back-end triaging of the observation application. The second example I will again take in the first line is all of us see hundreds and sometimes even more number of policies in our applications, and you start getting confused with that. I mean, it's not really giving the answers. To quote the previous speaker, the millennials want to know information right at their fingertips. So we're using technology from Google. It's BERT analytics for, again, natural language processing. You ask a simple question, the system tells you all the relevant policies, picks up the relevant snippets that are needed, and gives back the information. So these are the 2 examples. This is not in production, the previous one was, but we'll soon be rolling it out. So let's move on to the third case, which is again using towards the last mile of natural language processing. Here is an example. You see 3 issues across 3 different points in time, perhaps 3 different IT organizations. If you look at them from a human eye, you can start seeing there is something related to it. But imagine this, you have to roll it at scale. You have tens and hundreds of thousands of issues in a system. What you really want to do is use natural language processing. What it does is, it starts bringing things which are semantically close enough to each other, starts aggregating those, and starts creating patterns which are typically very hard for a computer to find, but by using NLP and the semantic similarity, you can aggregate it together. Now think about the power this thing unleashes to your risk professionals and even to the first line. I mean, what they are looking at is, in this particular case, this is perhaps 3 different issues across 3 different IT organizations, but they're all pointing to the same control failure, or even some control not being sufficient for that organization. So you can start building those kind of use cases using NLP. Another use case of this kind of a situation is that as you're entering issues in the system can actually point you towards past issues which are related and similar, and you can use natural language processing to see if the past actions that were taken were relevant and sufficient, or you can park this issue with these existing issues and remediate in the future. So that power of finding out similarity is extremely powerful. So with that, what I'd like to do is, as I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, we are co-innovating with our customers and partners. I would like to invite Amit Kohler from Infosys, who heads the risk practice and has been working with us towards a robotics process automation initiative. So welcome, Amit.
Thank you, Vidya, and thanks, Andy, for the opportunity. So my name is Amit Kohler. I represent the Infosys risk and compliance practice. To start the conversation, Infosys and MetricStream are very strategic partners. We have a global strategic alliance and relationship. Broadly, to introduce about our partnership, we focus on three dimensions of our relationship. Number one is innovating jointly, co-innovating, co-creating solutions, quite in line with the vision Andy and Vidya talked about. Broadly, 3-4 themes that we are following today is AI and ML, look at RPA automation, data analytics insights, and the digital transformation, the cloud transformation of GRC. Second is the joint value proposition that we bring in terms of implementation, execution, providing the scale of services and product capability come together and really provide the capability to the customers for us. Third is really looking at how do we approach the market, how do we solve the problems, how do we help our customers to transform their digital journey of GRC and really go to the market to work with our clients and assist them in the journey, right? So we have a center of excellence on MetricStream product. We have a fairly large GRC consulting practice. Infosys traditionally has been a very strong IT technology consulting player, and together with the MetricStream value proposition on GRC product, we really take this approach to our clients and to our customers and partners. So today I'll just touch upon one of the use cases. What Vidya also spoke about is the automation part, and we picked up to demonstrate the concept. We picked up the controls testing. We all know in the GRC world how important the controls are, the entire controls framework, the way it is designed, implemented, and very importantly, how you are measuring the effectiveness of controls, how you are validating the way controls are being followed. And the scope of controls monitoring is quite huge, is quite massive, and it can vary a lot based on the nature of business, the type of organization, the way the controls are implemented, the way you have adopted the system to really enable the controls framework, right? And if we start validating, the measuring, the effectiveness, there are several challenges which we see today the industry is facing, starting from the manual processes. If you don't have automated way of measuring the effectiveness of controls, the manual processes which leads to high cost, and very importantly, the coverage of controls testing, the effectiveness may not be fully complete. We do see the challenges in terms of the way data is siloed in the organization, because you will need to interface with various data sources to measure the effectiveness of control. Obviously, the organizations today, through the journey of digital adoption, they still have a lot of systems which are legacy system, may not be fully transformed. So you may have to deal with the disparate systems and in the IT landscape to really look at the measurement of controls testing, right? And the whole aspect of how real time you are able to monitor your controls, or is it all batch which gives you a post facto information rather than your ability to see how you are really, how effective your controls are on a real time basis. Right? So in order to test the effectiveness of the concept, I want to show a quick 2 minutes video of an automated controls testing mechanism that we developed on top of the MetricStream product. It's built on using a robotic process automation tool, and what it does is it measures the effectiveness of a very specific control within the overall controls framework, which focuses on the segregation of duties, which is in very simple terms how your accesses are managed in the organization. A typical example of a maker-checker process or a reviewer process, when you have defined certain controls to be followed, are those really being followed and are those being effective? So what it does is the automated controls are built into the MetricStream system. It gets triggered using a report which is supposed to display the output of the automated controls test that happens. So the system picks up, triggers the generation of report. At the back end, the robotic process picks up the transactions where maker-checker authorization review has happened. On the other hand, the system picks up the valid approvers which you have defined based on your control mechanism in the organization, and then starts validating and reconciling the two, that whether the valid reviewers or approvers have really taken the right action on the particular transaction. Here we picked up more from a timesheet or a typical procurement process, but this as a concept can be extended to a lot of different controls within the controls framework of the organization. At the end of it, it produces a report. You can look at what are the records which are passed, what are the records which are failed, and then really double click on that to look at what could be the real issues or where are the failures happening, which again gives you the insights of where are the gaps, where you need to bring in the right controls, where are the right definitions which are to be implemented so that you are able to really have the effectiveness of controls. So to summarize this particular use case, what we are looking at is the controls testing framework has broadly 4 themes. Number 1, the zero trust model. A lot of us look at doing a sample validation of our controls framework, which does not really provide an adequate coverage of what you should be doing. We are looking at 100% coverage of controls framework testing. Digital adoption and automation. So a lot of it is about automating the whole controls testing framework, how you adopt digital technologies to make it more effective, more efficient for you. And through the process, the insights that you generate may give you a lot more information of, one is to implement the control framework more effectively, where are the gaps which you need to fulfill, and possible changes to the whole landscape where you may need to really fix the issues at the root cause, right? So it gives you those insights through proper monitoring, and then the continuous monitoring process, which gives you proper insights on a regular basis. The benefits of the controls testing automated framework, it is seamlessly integrated with MetricStream. It provides real-time capability. You have continuous monitoring mechanism. There is evidence logging of looking into, double-clicking into the reports and see where are the issues really which you need to fix, and the root cause analysis. Look at the various technology levers to make it more enriched over a period of time, generate insights, and really use those insights to take better decisions for your future control framework, and really the coverage part of the controls which you can spread across the organization. So I would like to end my conversation here. Wanted to share a concept of controls testing, automated controls testing with you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Over to you.
All right. Thank you. Now, I think I'd like to add one statement. What you have seen here in this little movie was an activity that a human being would have to do over and over and over again, all right? And I'd like to basically relate that back to what I said yesterday morning when I said AI and robotics is here to complement our abilities and to allow us to focus on where we can create value as human beings and relieve us from activities which sometimes, I think, frankly, are not even humane. And that is the goal of robotic process automation, to do continuous control testing. What we are committed to is integrate those types of technologies directly into the business process to drive decision making not only at the top level, but in an everyday setting. In other words, to become more prescriptive for actions to accelerate solutions. Prescriptive in a way that you always can decide if the recommendation, you want to accept the recommendation or not. But I'm absolutely convinced that we have to make so many decisions which are routine decisions that we can really leverage the power of artificial intelligence to help with that. This will drive business value and performance. Now, how do I see the future unfolding? With conversational interfaces and with RPA, AI, machine learning, we can get to a world where GRC will be as pervasive as our ERP systems in the company. Why does that matter? I'd like to remind us that we digitalized the front office through CRM systems. We digitalized the back office through ERP systems. And it's now time to make sure we add the third leg to this table that we are having, our business running on, and that is pervasive GRC. It's time to digitalize the GRC and integrated risk management processes. If you think about that, organizations now can define and execute their strategies based on risk appetite. We need to understand those risks in detail. Continuous control monitoring and continuous audit will allow us to focus as human beings on constantly optimizing the standards, procedures, and policies, as opposed to do that in a scheduled manner, which is always right about half a year after some incident happened. We will not be distracted by all these repetitive tasks. So pervasive GRC, this is my conviction, is the basis that organizations of the futures will be built on and will strive. It is the way to optimally leverage the social license to do business. Now, what I would like to end up with is a reminder. We're in the second day of the conference. We have a lot of things to show and for you to touch and feel over there in the marble room. And in case you don't remember the marble room, it's where the food is and where the drinks are served. Please take the opportunity and have a look at AI and ML-based recommendation engines, what they can bring to your GRC processes. Have a look at the conversational interfaces. We have chatbots there to enter first-line information. Have a look at more detail than what we have seen here on stage in terms of RPA and automated control testing. Related issues using semantic similarity and deriving recommendations on how to mitigate an issue based on experience from the past. Search policies which actually understand the intent of the person who is searching for something, to find policies and appropriate policies, for example. And also possibilities to improve adoption through contextual help and videos in very, very new technologies which we have on display. So from that perspective, thank you for looking forward with us. Thank you for engaging in future projects. Let's try things out together. Let's celebrate if we fail fast, and let's go forward. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very, very successful second half of the GRC Summit. Thank you.